Well, hello, everybody. Happy New Year's. Happy new day, new week. How about a happy new attitude? Hey, everybody. It's Ms.B, Positively Ms.B, with the first show of the year. I'm excited to have Brenda Coles that started off with the leader's voice. Hey, Brenda.
Hey, Ms.B, how are you? Happy New Year.
I know, Brenda, man, let me tell you something. I'm going to do a shameless plug. Brenda Coles is not only a guest of mine the first Sunday of every month on the Leader's Voice. She is my buddy, my pal, my friend, my mentor, my sister. That child has taken a part in my life that I guess was reserved for her all these years. So forgive us if we get personal, but that's how we carry it. So I'm blessed to have Brenda Coles, who is the president of the Richmond chapter of the National Action Network, founder Al Sharpton. But let me tell you, he may have founded it, but Brenda runs that thing. Let me tell you, Brenda run that thing. And she also handles West Virginia and will step in anywhere else that ain't acting right. So Brenda Coles, thank you so much. Happy New Year. For those who are just joining us, never heard of you or National Action Network or even me, tell them a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, thank you, Ms.B. Again, Happy New Year to all the listeners, all the watchers. I am the president for the Richmond, Virginia chapter of the National Action Network, which is founded, and our national president is Reverend Al Sharpton. And here in Richmond, Virginia, we are very proud of our chapter. We work on different types of cases. Right now, we are working specifically with our brothers and sisters that are incarcerated. That is one of our big goals for this year, and it was for last year as well. We are also working diligently with our dealing with our COVID in our prison systems. Not only that, but I just want everyone to know that we work with all types of cases, whether it's dealing with housing issues or working with our parents that are in the J&D court system and dealing with our children, loss of our parents, or death. We have many death cases that we are working on, and I am just proud to be working with Attorney Kush Shukla out of New York. That's also a part of this network, and so we are doing marvelous things, and we will continue to grow because we're working with different organizations and different networks in order for all of us to work together as a community so that we can get a lot of these issues of today resolved and solved and help these families get some relief for families that just never thought that they'd be able to get relief. So I'm just proud of that. And I want to thank you, Ms. B, for allowing me to have this platform to be able to get the word out. So I want to thank you for your graciousness.
I like the way you said allowing it. I wanted to tell you, thank you for allowing me to share it. Let me tell you, I look forward to it. If I had more time to give you, I'll let you come every Sunday. But that being said, I just enjoyed the guests that you bring us. Is that my Mags in the background?
Yes, she is.
Well, everybody, we have a new family member. Her name is Maggie, and she's not used to being on live video, and Brenda has not trained her yet. So we're going to move forward with the background noise. We're going to add her as a guest. How about that, Brenda?
Okay.
Now, you know what? You don't want my dogs to sound off because I got more than one, so I can handle Maggie. But that being said, yes, it is an honor to have you come live and bring on your guests, such as the special guest today. BeKura, if you're listening, please wear your earbuds before we move forward, please. And that being said, Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for this opportunity to bring us to another year together, to bring us together as a human race, to help us to understand we are all on one accord. There's no such thing as the I, me, or we. We are all trying to strive and survive together. So, Father, I pray that everything we do and say will forever be acceptable in your sight, but be also an impression made upon those who take the time to hear and listen to the messages. That being said, I'm going to let Brenda talk a little bit about her guest, and I'm going to suggest that her guest find her some earbuds because we cannot move forward without it, because this podcast is going live, and I am very concerned about the audio quality, and we just need some earbuds before we move forward. So, Brenda, that being said, what are we going to talk about today while your guest gets prepared?
Well, we have a fantastic guest, and her name is BeKura Shabazz Branch. And I'm going to tell you, she has been, and she got in her bio, which I absolutely love. And I do apologize for Maggie in the background. She sees a dog outside, so she brought in the dog outside. And so, but she has something that in her bio that I absolutely love, and she is a 20-year advocate, but she called herself a dirt root advocate. Now we used to hearing the grassroots, but we are not used to hearing the dirt root, which I absolutely love. And she is involved in quite a few missions that she's been working on. And one is she's a director of a Life After Release. I'm just dying to talk to her about that and what that actually means to all of us as when we are talking about our brothers and sisters being released, and what that looks like, what that means. Because I think one thing a lot of people don't realize, first of all, as Nan, we don't call our brothers and sisters inmates. We don't call them prisoners. We call them incarcerated individuals. So when they are released, we want them to be treated as such, and they are then citizens. So we want to talk to her about what that looks like, about life after being released, and what is it that she's doing, and the organization she's involved with. What are they doing to make sure that there is a smooth transition for those that are being released? When they are released. Also, she is the founder and the president of First Alliance Consultant LLC. I certainly want to get more information. We want to talk to her about that, because see, we got so many people, such as Sister Shabazz Branch. We got so many brothers and sisters and people out here that they got a lot to say. They're doing a lot. So we need to know. We want to educate. See, my goal this year, Ms.B, this is my goal. I want to, on my platform, I want people like Sister Shabazz to be able to let us know what she has and what she's doing besides NAN or any other organization.
Turn your phone off.
We'll be able to know exactly what they're doing. And so that's very, very important, because a lot of people don't have a clue what's going on and what we have out here to offer. She's also the chairwoman for the Green New Deal. And I want to talk about that, because you hear of the Green New Deal, but I wanted to talk about the Green New Deal. So we got a lot of issues that in the Mothers Against Mandatory minimum.
Go get your dad, King.
Okay, and I want her to be able to talk about those things, and so we know exactly what's going on. So hopefully she'll be able to get her earplugs and get plugged in. But and so those are some things that, moving forward for this year for the Richmond, Virginia chapter. One thing that we definitely going to be doing, and that I'm definitely going to be doing, is having people on that is going to educate us. We need that. That's so important. We're not getting that, especially our youth. Our youth are not getting it, and we need to make sure that our youth is getting the information that they need.
BeKura, if you would log out and log back in again, because I've been trying to add you to the camera and it won't show. So just log back out and log back in and see if we can get your picture to show up. Okay, BeKura? Can you hear me? Let me see. I'm trying to get her. Okay, she's going to log back in, everybody, but thank you so much for your patience. But that being said, I'm excited. Let me do a little shameless plug here. This is the first episode of the brand new year. In case you did not know, I just celebrated my 5th year anniversary, October the 31st, and moving into my 6th year. And let me tell you, the doors have been opening. There are a lot of different shows that are coming on, opportunities for me. I have not done as much as I should have to promote the network, but God was saying, I tried to told you so. And it seems like as of November the 1st, things have just been opening up, and opening up. And that includes Brenda Coles, who has been graciously suggesting certain people to come and be interviewed by me. And since then, they have allowed themselves to share their messages. Hold on. There she is. We got liftoff. Hey, BeKura.
Hey, ladies.
Oh my goodness.
How are you?
We're excited to hear what you got to say. Man, I tell you what, not only did I listen to Brenda's intro, but I looked at your bio, and I'm telling you, everybody, if you don't get excited about what she's about to share, I don't know what else to say. Let me see if I can change this arrangement around a little bit. I'm not loving it at all. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I can see you now. There you go. Okay, so we're going to, can you talk to make sure we don't have any feedback?
Sure.
One more time.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but sometimes it acts up. And that being said, everybody, please take advantage of this video because it may or may not turn into a podcast because it's not exactly what iTunes may appreciate. But that being said, BeKura, I am honored. Let me tell you, when Brenda brings them, she know how to bring them. That's what I thought. It won't go get no dusted. And not only that, you just had the nerve to be local. My gracious.
Yes, yes.
Listen, I am not going to talk anymore. BeKura, I apologize for not getting enough information out about you prior to this, but I want to give you the opportunity to take as much time as you like to talk about all of your affiliations and what you hope to accomplish with this interview. Brenda and I are just going to sit back and listen, okay?
Thanks, ladies. Thanks. No problem. No problem. I've been out here for over 2 decades, and it's been a ride. I'll tell you that much. Especially being a formerly incarcerated Black female from Newport News, Virginia. It has been a struggle trying to find my place and to be accepted and to be deemed credible out here in this activism world. But it's happening. We're coming through, and people are finally starting to hear our point of view and taking notice and taking heed. And that's all we've been trying to do this whole time. I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and say, hey, I want to be a criminal. Or when you're a child, you say, I want to be a criminal when I grow up. That's not what happens. But economics and life sometimes will take you down a road that you never thought that you would go down. But you got to also trust that process. For a long time, I had spun down into a spiral of depression because of my criminal background record, until a young man in Florida named Amante came up and did an environmental justice internship. He said, Ms.B, you got to trust the process. It was meant for you to go down that road. Don't you ever regret anything you've done. And from that day on, it's been sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. So
all right. So
I'm happy to be here.
You said sky's the limit. Let me tell you, I lived in Newport News and Denver for a while. My children were born downtown Newport News, and so I'm Tidewater for a minute. But that being said, we're not going to let you stop there. You gave us a generic hello, but let me tell you something. There's another Ms.B in the house, and I'm gonna give you some respect. All right. So first off, let me tell you something. I worked in corrections. I worked at Greensville. I worked in jails. I worked in prisons. I worked in farm. I don't work somewhere, everywhere. And I've had exposure at the women's prison right there in Goochland. So there's a little something I can tell you, but I'm gonna let you tell us. First off, I don't want to know what you did. I want to know how you felt when you got out and where you decided to go after you got out, because it's not about, like you said, there's missteps, no mistakes. What happens is, and I'm going to do a podcast on this one, we have to experience to expose. You had to experience to expose your strengths, your weakness, to expose your desires and passions, to expose who you are as a person, or you can let it wipe you out. So your experiences either expose you or will take you into a spiral of no return. And you decided ain't happening. Right. So let's talk about not what you did. I don't even care how long you were in there. Let's talk about how you felt and what you decided to do after you got out and where you're going with that.
Well, I've always, even when I was out in the streets, I've always been active in my community, and it was sort of like a Robin Hood. So even though I was out there, I made sure that people in my community had what they needed. And so, I studied the law throughout, because one thing about it, if you're going to be out here in the streets, you better know the laws around what you're doing so you can maneuver when you need to maneuver, just like they know what to do. I had to know what I needed to do, too, to make sure that I didn't become a felon. And, I got caught up a couple of times. I was able to beat my cases and not become a felon, but I do have misdemeanors on my record. But what the last straw was is when I got in 2018, and I got an opportunity through a fellowship to come into professional advocacy work. And I was taken over into the environmental justice realm. And I had never done environmental justice work. That was not my thing. I didn't want that job. I was kicking and screaming. I wanted to do criminal justice. That's what I knew, that was where I wanted to be. And so I went to the interview because we had to as a part of the contract with the fellowship. And I thought I was just going to blow it. I intentionally tried to blow this interview. And then they called me back for a second one. And I was like, what in the world is wrong with these people? So I went to the second interview and I was like, okay, I got to really bomb this one because they're going to end up trying to put me in their hiring pool. And that's not what I wanted. And Lord and behold, did they call me back and offered me the position. And I had to take it because it was a part of the internship. And so when I got in there, I told them, I said, look, I'm gonna tell you all what I can do and what I'm not gonna do, because entering into the environmental justice world is extremely white. You rarely find Black folks doing environmental justice work. We are excluded out of that. So I said, listen, I'm gonna find a place for my people, and I have to be able to go home and bring this information to my people. If you're not gonna let me do that, go ahead and tear up these papers right now. And so the lady said, that's fine. That's what we want. And so I was like, I didn't know what I was getting into. And so what I did was merge criminal justice with environmental injustice, and it ended up working. And that was I was going through my last case then, and the judge told me, and this was one of the cases that I was actually innocent on, but because of my advocacy, I was kind of targeted. He said, if I see you in here again, he said, you're a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. If I see you in here again, I'm going to give you the maximum sentence allowed. And I was like, at that point, I was like, it's enough. I have to turn away where it's not even looking like I'm doing anything that I'm not supposed to be doing. And I have to get a crowd behind me that's going to be supportive of what I'm doing. So that if I ever have to enter into those gates, I got people that can speak for my character. And so I had to change that narrative. I had to change the narrative that my criminal background painted. And I did that. And I haven't been in any trouble. That case was 2015. I haven't been in any kind of legal situation of my own, besides being threatened to be, practicing law without a license because we do advocacy work.
Oops, did you say that? Oh my.
Yeah, so that's about it. And so it's just time. You gotta figure out what your strategy is gonna be. And at that time, I didn't have a strategy, and that's what was missing. And so now I got a strategy, and we're moving forward.
Okay, so wait a minute, Brenda, because let me tell you, if I don't, when Brenda come out, it's over. Ain't no shutting her up. So just let me get mine out. Because Brenda, let me tell you, she need to show by herself. And I'm not trying to be funny. That girl can talk. But listen, she talked good stuff, though. So I know your resume is out there. There's a lot of things people can read about you. But today you have, I believe it was 2 topics that you and Brenda wanted to talk about. And I know Brenda is going to add something to what you said. But right now, tell the listeners the 2 topics of interest that you want to cover before we let Brenda take over. What would they be? And again, I thank you so much.
It is going to be about the judicial disparities, legal empowerment, and child welfare reform.
Okay. And why are you so interested in those 2 things?
One, because I feel like the judicial system is one that was designed anybody that's within it. And you got to know how to move within that system. And it's just, when I think about it, it is, if you don't know the law, you are stuck. And I hate that. And so I think we need to start strategizing around that. I need to put out the information that I know about the judicial system. Political power is extremely important, and what they don't want us to know. Strategizing about that, we'll talk about it a little bit. And child welfare reform was something that I knew absolutely nothing about until about a year ago, and I cannot believe what's happening right under our noses was state-sanctioned kidnapping, state-sanctioned child trafficking, state-sanctioned destruction of Black and brown families.
Sure.
Right
Yes.
before our noses was happening before the separation at the border, has been happening since 1619 in this country, and not one of our politicians has child welfare reform on their platform.
Thank
Hold
you.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Brenda, I'm going to tell you straight up. I want her to talk about one, and I'm going to bring her back to talk about the state sanction, because let me tell you something. That's got to be a whole, you can't jam all of that good stuff
No.
in, especially with Brenda needing to talk. And I already took up 20 minutes. So we're going to talk about one. And because Brenda only comes back once a month, and I don't want to take with the slots of other people, I'm going to contact you to bring you back on our time to talk about this and other stuff, because it ain't just state, it's global. Every
Yes, it is.
politician, every government, everybody knows something about something, covering up something, taking our churn, and don't even talk about the welfare. Oh, you got me. I'm getting ready to go to
Yes,
church.
ma'am.
So I will bring it on down and give you all permission to talk about one, and then we're gonna come back and talk about the other. Okay, is that okay with you, Brenda?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
because I'm gonna tell you, that is a topic. Both of the topics are major, but and that's why when Mr. Shabazz said these are the two topics that I'm torn with. Well, you know what? I was torn with it too. Because I was torn with it too, and that's why when I put it out that way, because both of them are so major. And I'm like, you know what? And that was my thought. It will take us one show or more to cover one topic.
Girl,
So,
I'm already on that. Whenever you got a slot, you can
absolutely.
come back anytime. But I got her for the next one. We're
Well,
gonna
good.
talk with her. All right, go ahead, Brenda. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute myself because I'm excited.
But don't mute yourself, because I want you to pop in on questions too. But I want to go back to something that she said earlier, and which is very true for those of us that are advocates. Shabazz, when you said that regarding getting threatened for practicing law, and this is what people really don't understand. If we as advocates, and she's dirt root, which I absolutely love. I'm gonna take that one, girl. I'm taking that.
Not grassroots,
not grassroots, but she's going back down to the dirt. So she's dirt root. I love it. So, but she's exactly right, because if we got to know the law, that's exactly what we do. We have to study the law. We have to read the law. We have to know the law, because I want everybody that is listening to this today, that if we don't start understanding that we're going to have to know the laws, and then guess what? You're going to continue getting tied up, and you're not going to know, and you're going to be in trouble, and it's going to be difficult to get out. But I want to ask you, honey, because especially with the disparities, I know you and I have talked briefly. Talk to us a little bit about what it is that you're working on when it comes to the disparities within our criminal justice system.
Woo.
Yes.
Okay. So the first major thing is dealing with COVID. And so my organization, Criminal and Justice Reform Network, sat down and said, listen, the state is not doing what it's supposed to do around releasing our loved ones behind the bars. And so we came up with the Carceral COVID Relief Act that we're asking the governor to sign an executive order. So we're trying to bypass the General Assembly because it is such a dire need for release. This Carceral COVID Relief Act addresses violent, nonviolent, and child welfare removals. And so with child welfare removals, I'll start with that one, we're asking that children not be removed from their home for neglect, unless it's an issue where the child is severely malnourished and can be proven by a physician. We're asking that families be given complete wraparound services until the issue is complete, which is what we should be doing anyway. You don't take a child because of poverty. You do what you have to do to make sure that family needs are met, because you're going to give the money to foster parents anyway. Why not invest it in families? So that's number one. We're asking for no removals for subjective neglect, because we know neglect can be, and neglect can be, you don't like me.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're asking for that children not be removed unless it is true imminent danger, which is what the law says anyway, but that's not what's happening. So we're asking that the state uphold what the law says around removals, because when you take these children and you put them in foster care, nobody's watching these children. Nobody's watching the foster parent and who they're having these children around, and they can, contract COVID, and anything could happen. And so we're wanting to really preserve the family unit through this. We're asking for all non-violent state prisoners that are within 5 years of release and have served at least 50% of their time, including the good time, which means that we want to factor in the good time with what they serve. So they're actually been served a little less than 50%, but adding in the good time, they'll meet the 50% mark for all of them to be released. We're asking for violent felons who are within 2 years of being released and have served at least 50% of their time to be released, because what we do know statistically and by data is that what they call violent felons, if they have served over half of their time and have been infraction free, then they are not they don't pose a threat. They are low to no threat for recidivism, and low to no threat for any other kinds of acts of violence against the state that they may or may not get caught for. And we're asking the health department to back us with this, because what we do know is that our penal system cannot contain COVID, and the state does not have what it needs to be able to keep our loved ones behind the bars safe. And that is it, and that's all with that. If we cannot keep them safe, we cannot commit them to death. That is not what they were in there for. And so the state has to make a decision. And keeping them in there is not the right thing to do.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. When you say that you're asking the health department to be a part of this, because see, one thing that we have been overwhelmed with is calls from family members that their family members are incarcerated with COVID. They didn't have COVID while they was there. And, in some instances, we've been able to get family members moved out. And then some instances, it's just family members, they're there and they are confined. Now, but then you have the concern, which if they come out with COVID, how are they being treated? Is that why you asking the health department to be a part of that? And then also, because these are the very important pieces that people need to understand, that where we as dirt root, I'm picking it, dirt root,
as right.
advocates are working to make sure that, or connecting, because, I have some connection with people that does some housing or, that type of thing. So where are you with, if they come out and they are COVID, what is the health department? What are you asking from the health department part to do?
Well, so the health department, the commissioner, the director of the health department, says that he wants Virginia to be the healthiest state in the nation, and that he wants transparency. And so in order to do that, that means that everyone that's being released must be tested. And if they are positive, they must receive treatment immediately before they are returned home, because we don't want it spread. And so they have to take that action. And he's already committed himself to this pre-COVID. And so let's continue with what you said that you wanted to do for the state during COVID. And he said one word out of his sentence that just struck me. It said, all Virginians. And so you can't not include our prison population and our jail population. Also, I forgot with the Carceral COVID Relief Act, we're asking for the governor to suspend cash bail. And so anybody who is charged with any crime that is not an act of violence, we're asking that they be either released on their own recognizance or given a personal recognizance to not go inside the jails. And when we're talking about acts of violence, we're meaning that there was an actual victim, and the victim is not the state, because so oftentimes we'll hear a possession of a firearm with no additional crimes is an act of violence against the state. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about actually somebody was hurt. And so, it's those type of drastic changes that we have to make right now to curb this. And so, we don't even have the data on who's being released that may have COVID that's coming back into society. And the prison is not making sure that those people are safe when they're coming home. They're not even talking about it.
That's right. And then let me ask you, and you're exactly right, because I have talked to many of our brothers, specifically our brothers. I have talked to some of our sisters that are incarcerated, and one of their main concerns is that it's the staff that brings it in. It's not that, it's the staff that brings it in. So they don't want to go and work into the kitchens, especially the kitchen staff. Now, are you familiar with the jail down in Southwest Virginia where the warden died and there was a blackout on the media about it? The warden died, and that their tiny little newspaper was the only paper that had the story. And because it was obvious, there was no news, there was no major media on that story. And of course, I posted it out on Facebook some time ago, and then I saw where Richmond Times-Dispatch picked it up, but they did not have it prior to that because there was a blackout. And what happened was the assistant warden accidentally in that little paper admitted that the warden died. But it was 40 people, if I'm not mistaken, I may be mistaken, but there was 40 kitchen staff that they believe that actually brought it in.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible. And that is how I was getting in. I remember I have a loved one in Augusta whose cellmate had it. And then of course he got it as well. And he's like, they're not doing anything. And they quarantined them for 7 days and then just put them right back out. And then, we're also not talking about the fact that you can, how many times you can catch COVID, and is it worse the second and third time around that you get it? And so, it's just really it's fiscally irresponsible, and it's morally irresponsible. Would you put your family in that type of situation? And that's the only question people should be asking. Our government should be asking, what would we do if it was our own family, and act accordingly?
Before you say that, Brenda, I'm going to take a little short break, but my mind is turning. I do have questions, but I'm going to talk to you, BeKura, later to see how we can continue this conversation after today, because you brought a lot, and I want to be able to share it with or without a dog barking. We need to talk. But that being said, I'm going to take a short break, everybody. But this is very powerful information. And I pray that you understand that when the governor said every Virginian, that includes those who are, like you said, they're not locked up. You're treating them like some animal. They just have situations that reduce their freedom. You know what I'm saying? So here you go. Let's just take this little short break.
Crucify my flesh
that I was doing
Hi, everybody. This is Ms.B. Positive Ms.B. coming right back to you. I'm going to remove them while I do a short commercial. Hey, in case you just joined me, you just entered into the second half of A Leader's Voice, our first show of the year with Brenda Coles and her special guest, BeKura Shabazz, who has just, I don't know, she's just captured my attention. We need to talk afterwards. She is such an informative guest. All of her guests are informative, but I'm just really excited that the first show of the year starts out with her. But that being said, you just saw a short clip of the morning show with Ms.B. In case you didn't know who I am, I'm Ms.B., the CEO of Storm Talk 365 Radio, faith-based podcast network, where you can find us at www.stormtalk365 Radio, where we help you to talk to the storms in your life. I'm also the CEO of Storm Radio 24/7, where you can find us at www.stormradio247, where we talk about arts, business, entertainment, and more. On the morning show with Ms.B., you can find me at 7 a.m. East Coast time right there on my Facebook fan page. Ms.B. Spiritual Realist, where I'll be talking about different topics every week. This week coming up, I'll be talking about relationships. The first episode is going to be talking about relationships, detoxing and decluttering. And Monday through Friday, again, I'll have a different topic every week. And join me this week, relationships, decluttering and detoxing. Before we left, BeKura was talking some good stuff. The governor said he wants, us to be the number one and this, that, and the other, but that includes everybody. And BeKura was quick to remind us that includes the people whose freedom are limited because of being housed somewhere that they would prefer not to be. I just don't know how to call it. Working in the prison systems, I really don't like calling people inmates. I don't like calling them criminals. I don't like saying anything except that they're housed somewhere they prefer not to be. So I'm going to bring back Brenda and BeKura. We're going to continue our conversation. But Brenda, before we move on, is there anything you would like to say before we turn it back over to BeKura?
I do. First of all, family, I call everybody family.
I know, I love that.
I do. I think everybody's family. Also, I want to, when we're talking about what we're talking, even when we're talking about now, and we always got to add in our young people. I want to encourage everyone that on January the 14th at 7 p.m., the Nassau chapter out of New York of the National Action Network is going to be having a youth summit at 7 p.m. I will be sending out the information, and I do have a flyer on the Facebook for it already. And I want to ask everybody to please join into that. Elijah, my son, is going to be on one of the panelists along with a number of other.
Y'all can watch the live after you come in here and sit.
So please, I want everybody to tune in to watching our young people, listen to their issues of the day. That's one thing about Reverend Sharpton. What he do, he want to always hear from the young people and let them have their say. So I want you to please join the youth summit, which is hosted by the Nassau chapter NAN out of New York on January the 14th at 7 p.m. Please go to my Facebook page, Brenda Coles, and the flyer is there. And you'll be able to get the information. And I will be sending out more information on my Facebook as time gets closer.
Love that. Okay, BeKura, we're back with you. How are you?
I'm outstanding.
I'm
loving yourself.
It. I'm just excited. The reason why I asked how are you is because I'm excited. I just am enjoying the conversation that we're having. So before we left, okay, evidently you have me on another. You can't do that because the feedback.
Yeah, it's off. It's off. I just wanted to direct people over here, so it's done.
Still here.
When we left, I guess it's a delay. When we left, we were talking about your concerns about people who, are in the population and how the popular people, governors, mayors, everybody is ignoring the fact that at large it's the staff that's bringing it into the facilities. And do you have any suggestions on how that could be better handled? I know where my husband works, and a lot of places, they have them take temperatures before they go in. They have the mandatory masks. They have a lot of things in place. Do you have any suggestions on how the the correctional institutions can handle this better?
So, and I'm a realist, right? And so, there is, and this is the hard truth about it, is that there is no way that we can stop COVID from coming into the prisons, because you can't monitor the movement once somebody gets off of work. And so we have those that are asymptomatic that won't have the temperatures, won't show the symptoms, but have COVID. And so how do you know? You won't know. But for those taking the temperatures, making sure that they have masks, and proper places to sanitize, is the best thing to do, and following CDC recommendations. Which, how can you do that in a prison? How can you keep 1,400 inmates 6 feet away from one another? And wear the mask. They should be 6 feet away and wearing masks, because they're in such tight quarters. And so what we also need to understand is that the CDC recommendations was not made for prisons. That was made for us on the outside. And that, even though we have the 6 feet and the mask, they're still telling us that we really should be staying inside as much as possible. But we're out. We still barbecuing, shopping, and clubbing. I'm trying to figure out what clubs these people are still going to during the pandemic. But it's still business as usual. And then we have those that are like, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not willing. And for me, with that, I understand that we all have rights, and it is your right to do what you choose. But this is not necessarily all about rights. This is about morality. And saying that I care about you, that I want to keep you safe and me safe and everybody else. And so we need to take this from a rights standpoint to a morality standpoint. Mm-hmm. That I care enough about you that I want to see you tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
And let me add something to what she just said. With the brothers that are incarcerated that I've spoken with, and even the sisters, they get one mask. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
Hold up. One mask for how long?
Until indefinitely.
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm a nurse.
Yes.
I'm a nurse. What in the...
They get one mask.
Sanity. So what in the double hockey
tarnations?
They have to wash the mask themselves. They get one mask.
Or make it out of whatever they can make it out of.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Yeah, we need to... BeKura, we need to come back, and we need to have a special... Go ahead, Brenda.
And I'm gonna tell you, that was one of the things that bothered me the most. And BeKura is exactly right about the distance. They can't separate like that when they're incarcerated. And I do understand, and I feel for the families that call us and they want their loved ones out. They want their loved ones out. And like I say, in some cases, there are cases that we were able to do it. In most cases, we're not, for the simple fact that it's a pandemic. So it's all around us. And BeKura hit something that is so pertinent right now. If even people out that when we're out here, just like she said, with people, they're not even doing what they're supposed to do. I saw it on the news yesterday. Down in Texas, a young child passed away. I don't know, he was probably about 5, 6, 7 years old. And he and the mother said, I didn't even know that it was real. That's exactly what the mother said. She said, I didn't even know this was real. So once again, you had your child has passed away, but you once again, we are out here and you're walking around saying you don't even know that it's real. And it goes back to, I'm gonna say something else to Ms.B. It goes back to when I was in the hospital and I lost all that blood and I complained about this, what was going on. Do you know when I wore my mask and gloves in the hospital, the nurses told me, and see, this is telling you there was not enough information. And I thought about this as BeKura was talking. That tells you that even back in May, when I was in the hospital for the bleeding ulcers, and And I had on mask and gloves, and the nurses kept saying to me, "Well, Ms. Coles, why you have on gloves and face mask? You are safe. You are safe in here." And I said, "No, I'm not." I said, and she said, "Well, we got ours on." I said, "So what?" And I said, "Because you want me to take my mask and gloves off because you feel
Because
that
you
I'm
got yours
safe
on.
because you got yours on." And it wasn't enough information. And right now, you cannot go into a hospital and you won't see the patients without a mask on right now. So, and I that's what was one of my complaints. One of my complaints was, wait a minute, why aren't the patients being given masks and gloves? Or at least a mask on their face. But no, I had my mask and I was going to wear my mask and I kept my gloves on. They were laughing at me. You can keep on laughing, but guess what? I'm still healed. and when I, and when BeKura said what she said about the space and how we got to be careful with this, and especially with our brothers and our brothers and sisters that are on the inside. We do need to have another conversation about this because BeKura, one thing I definitely want to know in these talks, is there a discussion about where they would go if they don't have family? That's one of the biggest things that I'm always concerned about because, and I say that because even when I talk to, and I have a lot of brothers and sisters that call me. Even when I talk to them, a lot of them don't have family to go to. So that's something I definitely would like to hear from you.
So, and that was a part of the reason for the delay of the good time credit bill that passed previous General Assembly session. They delayed it because they said they did not have enough places for people to go if they did not have a home plan. And so, what's interesting to me about this is that we have directors of the Department of Corrections. We have all of these people, and nobody thought about extending our halfway house base in the state of Virginia. We only have 3, from what I understand, with all the people that we have incarcerated. So what we were saying is that the system was depending on families to take these people in. And they wanted to put the burden back on the community. And what I mean by the burden is because our loved ones that are coming home are not receiving mental health treatment coming home. Let me tell you, at the minute of arrest, there is trauma. You hear me? Unexplainable trauma that happens to the nervous system. And if that goes unchecked, and then it increases by the number of times that you arrest, because just because you've been 1,000 times, it doesn't get any easier. Then whatever mental health problems come from that anxiety, depression, whatever it may be, impulsive disorder, the community now has to bear this, us, and not being a trained mental health professional, we can only do what we can do. The system that created this system knows what it's doing.
Wait a minute, hold up. Say that slowly.
The system that created this system knows exactly what it is doing.
Hallelujah. Guess I'm in church right now. Y'all better shut me down. Oh, that's a Holy Ghost moment right there. Y'all don't know what you said. You better pay attention.
So it's not going to provide the mental health services, that we need. And that's an unrealistic expectation. And so we have to make sure that we are putting people in office that understand what we need to get the changes that we want, to have a moral Virginia. When we talk about equity, I don't ever hear anybody saying, I want a moral Virginia. I just want an equitable Virginia. Well, what is that?
That's right.
What is that?
That's right.
And so, and we have to define those words, because we know that slave masters always would use moral consciousness as an excuse for what they did, to justify what they were doing to us.
That's
And
right.
so we have to make sure that we are defining these words and that we are creating the narratives. We are. And that we stand on those things without waiver.
That's right, without wavering. Yeah, because I'm gonna say something else. And when you brought this straight on out, when and I think it's, once again, we use a lot of things as an excuse. When there was backlash on the fact that when you had people that were saying defund the police, they was not talking about defunding or taking all the money from the police. They was
Right.
talking about, just like you say, adding in social workers, taking money out of some of the, giving them more
Budgets.
training, but taking
Mhm.
some money out of some of that budget, some of the budget, and
Mhm.
putting in therapists. That is very much needed. Just like you say,
Mhm.
trauma, letting people, right. Putting money where you got social workers, you have therapists, you have counselors, you have people that are trained, that can come on the scene
Mhm.
and be able to de-escalate, because police officers are not trained to de-escalate. But it was not talking about defunding the police. You cannot defund the police.
Right.
That is not what we're talking about. But that
Mhm.
just really caught fire, and you had a lot of the politicians up in arms. We can't use
Yeah.
that language anymore. Oh, yes, we can. We
Yeah.
can use that language, because that's exactly where we are. Now, if you want to say, well, then let's say it in a different way, that's fine.
Mhm.
But don't tell us that we can't say that there need to be money put where it's basically
Right.
more needed, when we need counselors, social workers, therapists on the clock
Mhm.
with police officers to be
Mhm.
able to de-escalate situations instead of somebody getting killed.
Right. You know what? I'm gonna tell y'all something. When I was talking about trust the process, so I entered back into school 2 semesters ago, and my major is criminal justice, social work, and going through my criminal justice classes, I see exactly why we have the police that we have. I see exactly why the culture is what it is. And my professor is a retired police officer that we've had plenty of conversations with, and he said, nobody ever shared this perspective. And so you have systems, school systems, institutions that are training our police. Our police are also, it's them systems. The systems train the police officers to be not human and to act as slave catchers.
And so
That's
that's
exactly that.
it.
It has
Look at
not
the history of
changed.
it.
That's
I'm not
it.
going
Yes,
through, but
it
you
has
can
not
Google the
changed.
history of law
It
enforcement,
doesn't.
and it tells you it's created for rich folks to hire criminals to scare folks away.
That's
And
right.
sometimes the most important law enforcement officers were the biggest criminals in the territory.
Yeah.
And
That's
it has
true.
not changed. But let me stop. I digress. But let me
That's
just say
true.
this. We got
And we
7
see
minutes.
all this.
Keep going.
We see all of this all the time. And, we also have to talk about trauma that police officers face every day. Imagine going to a job where you don't know if you're going to get killed every day. And they work every day. Police officers should not be working 365 days out of the year. They
That's
should
right.
have to take a break like teachers do,
Like
3 months,
That's right.
and go and get yourself back together and get your mental health right. They should not be on the clock. It's not It's not
Oh, I got one
conducive for
for
the
you.
body.
Yes.
I got one for you. Hold on. They should have mental health evaluations before employment and periodically do.
During
Because let
And
me tell you
and
something.
during.
A
thank
lot
you.
of these
Mm,
people come in
Yeah.
and they already have issues. And then on
right.
top of the issues brought upon working with people who have no integrity, then they got more
That's
pressure.
right.
They're humans. They're not
That's
Mhm.
right.
machines.
That's
And let
right.
me
Thank
tell
you.
you something. What you hire is what you get. And
But
then you have to go back to the authorities above.
Yep.
Whoever hires them, they know what they're getting. I'm sorry, I'm yelling. We got 6 minutes. Brenda, I want you to close this out. BeKura, don't you go nowhere when we finish. I want to talk to
Okay.
you on camera. All right, go ahead, Brenda. Let's close it out. We got 5 minutes.
well, girl, first of all, I just want to thank you. I know this is a topic that we definitely need to bring back. And I know Benita gonna snatch you on up, which is good because we need this. See, this is what we're talking about. Because, like I say, this year I want to bring people on the platform that can educate. This is what we need.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful and I'm thankful you accepted the invite to come on. Like I said, because you, sister, you got so much, and you got so much. Proud of you, proud of where you
Thank
are,
you.
where you've been, and where you're going. And I say, I'm taking your dirt route. You can forget that. That's mine now. It's gonna be mine and yours. Okay. I'm using
That's right.
it. But I just want to thank you so much for your knowledge. And because see, it's just like with you, Brother Willett, all of those, Brother Shaquille, all of those that have spent time behind the walls that educate me. And I want to thank you for that. And Sister Benita, I love you. I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody that's always watching, especially for this year, my first show for this year. I want to thank everybody for watching A Leader's Voice. Please catch me on February, I believe February the 3rd, the first Sunday in February at 1 o'clock. I will be having on the show his name is oh Lord, don't do Ernest McBride. He's out of Jackson, Mississippi. And Brother McBride is going to take us back to the Roman Empire back in 325. And we're going to talk about that. So we want to go back. We're going to take you back in history.
Mm-hmm.
This brother is powerful. He had so many connections in civil rights as he was growing up. I can't wait to tell you that story, but I want to wait. I'm not going to tell you everything. So you got to tune in so you'll know who actually got him out of jail. And yes, indeed, he is a reporter. He is a writer for the Jackson Advocate out of Jackson, Mississippi, and he's been there for many, many, many years. So I'm looking forward to having Brother McBride on for February. So please join us for Black History Month, where we're going to start with talking about the Roman Empire, and we're going to move it on up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any closing words? Right now, BeKura, we have 3 minutes left. Anything you'd like to say before I end it?
Get involved with intentional advocacy groups. Intentional, not extortionary, but intentional advocacy groups that are really doing the work. That's how we're going to get the change that we need and be the change that you want to see in the world.
Amen.
Well, all right, everybody, let me tell you something. I'm being the change that I want to see in the world. The Lord has blessed me with a global podcast ministry. And what I did for the past 5 years was prepare me for what's ahead of my future. Not only do I have Brenda Coles and her distinguished guests, but I have a lot of things going on that you did not know. Every Thursday of the month at 7 p.m., I have different doctors with different points of view. And I'm excited to piggyback on what they said about trauma. We have on the first Thursday of every month, Dr. Shedrick McCall and Dr. Dee, that's right, Dolores Dunger Anderson, Tony Dungy's cousin. They're coming on the first Thursday at 7, talking about, yes, the prison pipeline, trauma, and how it impacts the Black male. And we have on the second Thursday of the month, Dr. Dee comes back all on her own, talking about trauma and multiple personality disorders. The third Thursday of the month, I have Dr. Linda Persons from Virginia State University, where Dr. Dee is from Norfolk State and Dr. Shedrick McCall is from Virginia State. But on Thursdays, she'll be talking about staying healthy 50 and over, not necessarily for 50. She's a former bodybuilder. She's very instrumental in the VSU athletics department, but she comes on every Thursday, third Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. And the fourth Thursday is Dr. Shedrick McCall coming back talking about Black male mental health and other topics. But I'm also excited to share with you on the 8th of this month at, I believe it's 7 p.m. I'll be making the flyer. I am interviewing Dr. Julius Garvey, Marcus Garvey's son. Julius Garvey is a doctor. We'll be talking about his career, but not only highlighting his interest in his father's career, who was a Black nationalist and leader of the Pan-Africanism movement, but he'll be talking about holistic health. That's right, Julius Garvey right here on Storm Talk 365 with Ms.B. Friday the 8th at 7 p.m. I'm looking forward to that. But that being said, you can find everything you need to know about me on my Facebook fan page, Benita Claiborne, or Storm Talk 365 Radio's fan page, or the group. But again, I'm just excited to be able to share all of this with you as a global podcast network. You heard me mention that I'll be converting the videos to podcasts where you can hear them on iHeart, iTunes, Spotify, or just go right to our website, www.stormtalk365radio.com. And I don't care about the dogs barking, the children. I don't care about nothing. This here gonna be made a podcast. They just gonna have to rate it and make it a C, but somebody gonna listen. All right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I thank you all for supporting me. We're gonna end this, but secure. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm changing your name, child. That's a Bluebill moment. I ain't speaking in tongues. I just messed it up. Lord. All right, talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.